Because never do you take into consideration what you hear said when you hear words like reincarnation. Well, just what is really being said. The prefix, which means to do, in is the opposite of out. We are a reincarnation of people, no doubt. Each of you have lived embodiment after embodiment after embodiment, all meant to be. Question. But if you were to question of, you remember before this one, how many of you remember you were there? A question. There must be a catalyst by which these things are put in motion. A catalyst is like a pebble. Were to be standing on, say, a low bridge that was stretched over a small brook, a pebble, and dropped it into the water, we would see a thing called the ripple effect. Question: the catalyst must come from a piece of the cornerstone. The cornerstone, without question, you own. Inside your heart, you have a discerning spirit, no doubt. To differentiate between truth and falsehood. And so, in that, listen to this. If you have a 0 point in mathematics, and to the right of the 0 point you have +1, +2, on up to +9. To the left of the 0 point you have -1, -2, on down to -9. Without question, you would say positive represents good. Say right, and that's why you go to the right of the 0 point to get there, because right is also the opposite of left. Left of the 0 point is, without question, tell me I don't know what I'm talking about. They say is -1, and negative represents evil, right? Notice how I kept saying right. It lets you know that even in that negative state, some good is brought there also. Because you're going to the left. Say going to the left to get the -1, that's like, nigga, I'm leaving you. In order for something left, that means they would have had to have gotten up and been in a leaving position. If we were all to return to the center of the 0 point, in order to get the +1, don't you have to get up, leave to get there? And each of you, in the good that you do, you bring negative with you. So create a balance in knowing that now the man has become like one of us. What I mean by that, they've been feeding you all dualities for a long time that are not realities, which is why you all are having such a hard time in a three-dimensional world making sense of it. What they did was to take the center of everything out. And let me tell you something. Each of you was introduced to white light, no question, a little bit too fast, a little bit too soon, and a little bit too abruptly, where your transition from the etheric realm into a physical existence did not run smoothly. Why? Part of the reason which you all are still having such a hard time. Without question, always know this, family, that while in the physical body and on the physical plane, the number 3 governs you. And without question, in it you will remain while in that physical vessel and or that you now drive. And either the question becomes, are you driving your car? Is your car driving you? Again, if indeed you're not driving your car can literally drive you crazy. Indeed, you are so lazy as to not be able to say no to it. Because every time your stomach growls, it does not mean you have to put some food in your mouth. Every time you got to go to the bathroom does not mean that you have to answer to that. Sometimes say no. Be in control. Then you will start to regain the ability to grab the steering wheel, will your way into a particular type of existence by which you are not sitting in a state by which you live beneath the poverty line and or are miserable. See, because, long time ago it was said that for the truth, find it, and the truth will make you free. It set you, it said make you. The question is, how come nobody ever took the time to say free from what? Because if indeed you're standing in a state of freedom already, there would not be a necessity to be made free. That means some sort of bondage must be in place. This bondage each of us are sitting in right here today. It is a prison without question. Walls are invisible. In a literal box, right now you sit around you and you will see the angles of it. Without question, these angles are only there because they're constantly trying to find an angle by which to deal with us. As we sit here in this forum and speak, how many of you think for 1 minute or even a half a second that indeed they're not listening? And listen, and not with a conventional means, meaning one that you all are accustomed to. Because they put sound on a cassette tape by magnets. Magnets is what puts sound on a cassette tape. If you didn't know, now you do, because ATUN-RE just told you. The one thing you cannot say is you were not what? Told. And what puts sound and imagery, listen, on a VHS? Again, magnets. And without question, it didn't say, many are called but few are chosen, because the Most High is bending down out the sky, hand-picking and or selecting. No, the few that are chosen are only chosen because they make the right choice. And without question, enthusiasm stands opposite procrastination. So never be a nation that does just enough to be able to say, I done something. That's like doing nothing, because nothing is still something, you know, because when you introduce the word nothing, you're saying no thing, which sums up to something. There's no such thing as space, because space is always filled. There's nothing there. There's also no such thing as out of space. See, so that's the place where the question and the answer become one, which is the next level, you know. Each of you have questioned, and without question, let me tell you something, you would not grow. Only by your questions that you grow. And there are those of us who are here without question. We question and the answer for you in a time in which you would need it the most. Each of you, you've read Footsteps in the Sand and or have had it read to you. Well, my father wrote that and gave it to the world as a gift, not signing his name to it. Without question, here today, many things that I've written and put out, everyone who knows me knows without question or doubt that at the end of it, I would say, signed ATUN-RE. Now, know this, that we who are your elders sit in seats because we carry a particular type of signature that is unique. It's what affords us the seat in the first place because of certain qualities, abilities, and certain things that, listen now, the Most High saw in us as being unique. Now, many will want to be the chief. You got a whole bunch of Indians, but you can't have a tribe if every Indian wants to be a chief and wants to sit there and smoke. Broke stove, because hell is not a burning fire. Hell is a burning desire that is put in place when you strike the match or strike the big lighter to smoke what you smoke. Without question, many of you sit around and don't try and say that you don't, because you do. You sit there and say you don't, you're lying, and you know it's true. I want to use smoke. Without question, many of you don't know there's a ceremonial herb. Amongst our Native American Indian brothers, it was used, listen, when discrepancy would rise in the home, meaning argument between husband and wife, father and son, sister and sister, sister and mother, mother and daughter, etc., etc. Why? Because them two arguing Negroes, the beings who still needed to grow, would keep the rest of the tribe up all night. And then, come daybreak, two very strong braves would come to their teepee and say, the chief would like to see the two of you. And they would be escorted therein, and in that teepee, the chief would be sitting there and the medicine man sitting right there also. And the THC gave you 2 hours of consciousness, which to work your problems out. Then it was established that if it could work between two people, perhaps it could work between nation and nation, meaning between tribe and tribe, when discrepancy broke out between, say, the Blackfoot and the Crow, or between, the Cherokee and the Sioux. And soon we came to know, until the day came, that there was a person who came from Fort Bragg, Yellowhead being, Captain so-and-so, invited him in as an honorary guest. Questioned, out, speak, and spoke even our very best. We ate as a family for that moment. And then so-and-so went back to Fort Bragg, bragging, about how he had experienced something that none of them had. Then went on to tried to tell the herb's secret, which he himself only knew one side of. He said these beings have a herb that when ingested in a smoke capacity brings feeling of peace upon, indulges. What did they know? Come back to raid our holy land, being King Bear would be in the tree looking on. As they walked across the land that we buried our grandmothers and on, our grandfathers and our children who had died in Bear, you know, he drew his bow and I said, no. Let's watch and see. Look, with thy eyes. In seeing what we saw, we sat there and laughed. We knew what they knew not, which was the herbs' secrets. Because it was a family situation, it was none of their business. And on that note, which is why I hear today, many still don't know. It's not the herb, the paper that you are rolling it in that got touched by the devil. And anything that is good, if touched by the devil, can be turned to evil. But anything that is evil is touched by we who are, be turned back to good. Your love is strong enough. I will say, as you know, they put forth a diabolical combination because we have a combination of A plus B equals C, which is moving forward. Why? Because everything in nature that is healthy has three directions of preference. Two you can see and one you can't, which is forward, first one. But if indeed to drive your car and solely look through the rearview mirror, isn't it inevitable that indeed that car will crash? Keep your eyes on the road ahead. But that will give you the information to let you know where you're going. And the rule is, look through the rearview mirror once every 19 seconds, only for 3-second intervals, though. Don't get stuck. Do like a movie, y'all, but you don't become emotionally attached to, but you bear witness to, in terms of the things that you used to do, so that you don't get caught up in chicken today and feathers tomorrow. Should I say? Where it should be, feathers today and chicken tomorrow. And we might get a little French fries with some ketchup. Well, we don't need the ketchup because we're already caught up in the mix of it, you know, many of us. And how many of us really take the time to stop and think? We see, you know, the brother with the high beams on, or we all got them in our family, and what do y'all do? Y'all push them further out the door. Is that mind and or compassion that is supposed to be compassionate? Without love, you have absolutely nothing. The reason many of you suffering is because you all have forgotten the very, the important thing, which is how to love each other. Sincerely, I'm not talking about, you know, that many are experiencing now, which is a, mutated form of love by virtue of the fact that you've been fed an illegitimate opposite. You can't know what a thing is until you know what a thing is not. You can't know hot till you first know cold. You can't know up till you first know down. But it's only by coming in contact with the things true and exact. Indeed, a thing is legitimized. Like if the true and exact opposite of a bee is a flower, and I come along and I say, no, it's an apple, and you believe me, then do you know you could be looking at a pear all the days of your life thinking it to be a flower, and no one can tell you different, because that becomes your reality. Only because you were fed an illegitimate opposite. And if I was to say to the listening audience right here now, what is the true and exact opposite of love? Many right off the bat, without question, it's a fact, and don't feel bad because fact that cannot be denied. Many will say hate, true and exact opposite of love, and I'll say, if I hate catching a cold, I hate negativity. What if I hate bloodshed? What if I hate everything that's wrong that's happening to the children? Is hate seen under that type of light a negative and or evil thing? No. Why? Hate is not the true and exact opposite of love. Hate is like a match, family. Meaning, depends upon the intent of the striker. What do I mean by that? Like with a match, what type of intent? I can strike that match and choose to throw it into the fireplace of a home, correct? Ask the children to gather around and warm themselves. I mean, we can even roast marshmallows. It becomes a very beautiful thing. That same match, the type of intent, choose to be mean, meaning instead of choosing to throw it into the fireplace of the home, I can choose to burn the house down. It's not the true and exact opposite of love, which is why you all have forgotten how you were fed an illegitimate opposite from the start. It's causing you to experience, many of you, a mutated form of love. We who are your elders call it a lip service. Oh, I love you, yeah, but let me need somewhere to go. I love you, yeah, but let me need something to eat. Well, I love you, yeah, but let your problems be a little bit stronger and bigger and badder to you than what you see my problems to be, and the help that I'm calling on you to get then goes out the back door. You don't love me anymore. Why? Because self-preservation is the first law. But there's a thin line between self-preservation and out-and-out selfishness. The line that you do not want to cross, because without question, you all, there are many fish in this sea. Fish you don't need, and every time you catch him, mother had it, back. Motherfucker, who friends say, back. Wanna know why? Because it is the selfish. The ones that don't care nothing about anything or anybody other than themselves. These are the same ones here today who will smile in your face, embrace you, be all that they can be in the phoniest of ways. But when it comes down to the come down, without question, they're not there, to pick you up. Might need to, because real love produces, and never does it abandon you. The truth of the matter is, see the man, and I'll speak as an adult, they're not children on this line, would you imagine? But then again, I'm going to speak lightly because they could be. We'll say love produces more than just the noise. Because many don't know what the true and exact opposite of love is. This is what's standing in your way. Well, let me remove that obstacle now, because, without question, one dot nor tittle, capital letter and or comma will hit the ground. It's quite simple. Every stone will be overturned, and what's up underneath there, y'all, without question, you will learn, and it won't be through a lesson. Want to have any lessons that's less than you, than great. If indeed I am in the image and after likeness of God himself, without question, I am also what God is. You're going to tell me I got to be to a meeting on Thursday. When I get there, if I get there at all, but I make the choice. At the end of the day, it is by your choices. You either succeed or fail. And the only thing that stands in between failure and success is one word: preparation. Properly prepared. Without question, to be properly prepared means to take the problem back to its origin. If you are in a state of analyzation, assessment, and or evaluation of an issue, start it at its origin. You give a book, and if the fool opens it up and goes right to the center of it or to the end of it, raise your eyebrow, because that fool ain't got good sense. Because you don't start at the end of it. Judge the tree by the fruit that it bears, but start at the root, y'all. Without question, always know it started the day you were born. If I say to you, what is the true and exact opposite of love? Many don't know, but let me tell you right here now, it's fear. Love stands there in times of danger and will sacrifice its greatest gift, which is its life itself, see to it that another loved one survives. Our fear will run and hide of true love. And forever with its arms open, and forever is it forgiving. Because isn't it ironic that everyone, without question, has done things that they know they had no business, and each of you know it's true, and if you say you haven't, then you're lying. Yourself, me and you, and will lie right there in your chest in a way by which there's no way you can be the very best at anything you set out to do. Because how can you do something you know you have no business without knowing also that at the end of that rainbow, there's not a pot of gold, and without question, you will want to be forgiven for what you have done. And that, as true as the rays of the sun. How can you be forgiven if indeed you don't know what the word forgiveness really means? This means that you stand for and not against giving. And not against giving, because either you are forgiving or you are forgetting. This is all about. Love will give you the shirt off its back. That's a fact. And say, wait a minute, bro. Or wait a minute, sis. Does it match your pants? I got a better one in the closet. Here, try that on. You look good in that. Guess what? That's yours. So you don't owe me nothing. I'll question. Will never come back and throw in your face what it has done for you at a later time. Fear won't give you nothing. Want to know why? But stand in fear of not having enough for itself. On that note, the question then becomes, when you came out of your mother's womb, or before that, in your mother's womb, was the lights on? They off. Truth of the matter is, in triple darkness you sat. In that triple darkness, all there was the voices, sounds, and frequencies. And one voice you heard frequently, which was your mother's, which you then became accustomed to. You went through your metamorphosis of 3 trimesters that was constantly trying you, because the question is, does the caterpillar know that it will be the butterfly? Even have the slightest clue that one day it will fly? Our question, the piece of coal, has no idea that it will become the hardest known substance to man, iron, diamond. The caterpillar stands in representation of our sisters. The piece of coal stands in representation of our brothers. Each of you have your job to do. Because every time you learn something new you've never heard and or come in contact with before, immediately kicks in is called a new. Hear that? Responsibility. The word responsibility means you have now the ability to respond. So on that note, you then becomes the question. Your responsibility kicks and or knocks at your door, shall be answered. Seek and you shall find, and knock and the door shall be what? And no man or woman or living thing will have the ability to ever close it again. Because the one thing you all cannot do, can't unknow or unlearn what you come to know. You can't go backwards in information. Try to. Just like I told you the number 3 governs you. How I'll prove it right now. Try to think of something that isn't a person, isn't a place, and isn't a thing. You bust your brain. And always know, because it can save your life, that there will be 2 things. That's right, on this side of the mirror, out of the 3 that you will see, and 1 that you won't and or can't. You know, because everything is based on person, place, or thing, 1 category, solid, liquid, gas, 2nd category, and past, present, future, 3rd category. And that defines and redefines your entire physical existence. You will see the solid, you will see the liquid, but you will not see the gas. And they will gas you up with high octane if you let them. Because the question is, how much do they really know? I mean, the ones you know at the Ivy League schools of Princeton and Yale, the professors so. Those who profess to know, but do they really know what you and I go through? And indeed, we didn't graduate from an Ivy League school. We graduated from an Ebony League school called the School of Hard Knocks. And without question, that school was hot, but it didn't burn you. But it did have the ability to learn you what you needed to know. And in that, there's no reason to carry shame. Because shame is not our name. Shame comes from ashes to ashes and dust to dust. And without question, everybody wants to turn and ask us. So who are they seeking a sense of guidance from? And if indeed you say, well, who created God? All you have to do is remove the question mark and put the period, and it will stop right there. And stop spelling who, W-H-O. Because whoever told you wrong is spelled W-R-O-N-G was a damn liar. Wrong is spelled R-O-N-G all day long. You cannot get a R sound from a W sound. And I don't care what you say or how. And they will say the H is silent, right? Well, the truth is, where did they get that from? I'll tell you where. When they themselves looked on the walls through a stolen legacy, coming through a being who was not great at all, but indeed was an admitted homosexual called Alexander, who came out the closet when they put that library up, because they spoke with a forked tongue. It was library, where the lies have now buried the truth under thousands of sheets of paper, and you got to get in there now and dig it out. They called it a library, and without question, Alexander then became Alexandria. See? And how? Because they came into our schools and temples and halls of higher knowledge that sat in the cities of Thebes, Memphis, and Heliopolis, which is called Upper Tamaray, not Upper Egypt, which is called Upper Egypt here today, because Egypt comes from the word Egyptos, which is what our children called the Greeks. It meant burnt face, of which you and I are not a part of. Because without question, we belong to the Can family. They've been kicking the can for quite some time. Now we're going to show them what can do. If you know like I do, and without question, you be the judge of. Because can't never could do nothing and couldn't is can't's cousin. No family of yours. And without question, Americans are what we are. And you might say, well, wait a minute, you want to lay claim to being an American? Yeah, that's right, y'all. Because the word America or American came from the word Emir and Inca being put together. Emir means ruler. And the question is, how do you rule? As a mirror. You see? Because every day you look in the mirror without question, isn't it so that that being looks identical to you in every way? That's the W right there. But you don't know. You pretend not to. Because it will not smile before you do. And you knows exactly what it's here to do. The lower you doesn't have the slightest clue. If you enter into a relationship, which many of you do for all the wrong reasons, how can you possibly get right out of it? Enter into a relationship, why? Because you're looking for your, significant other. Wrong. You cannot, your significant other is a reflection of you if you are a significant reincarnate. There's three different types of reincarnates: the significant, insignificant, and the insequential. Because each of you, when seeing the pages in the book of life, was graded on what it was you saw. And the questions that you answer, those who paid close attention answered well. Became significant reincarnates here today, standing with us, coming from out the well they called Zamzam. Well, question, Tahuti, into the desert to die. His brother, whose name was Nana. And they want to know how I know? Because I was there. Talking from something that, I read in somebody's book. Because when you read, that merely is mathematics, because read means to re-add it all up. Hey, reading is fundamental. Right, it's fun to the mental, but fun is the first three letters in funeral, and you don't die when you do that, but it damn near kills most of you, because anything they want to hide from y'all, they just put it in a book. You see? They know you all to be told. Our story be renewed every equinox. 24,000 years in an equinox. Consisting of 6,000 year period. Planets are not swinging around the sun in a circle. They're swinging around the sun in what looks like an egg shape. Cycles of 6,000 years. Going closest to the sun are sun cycles. And the cycles that are furthest away from the sun are called moon cycles. And don't forget, Michael Jackson did the moon walk, and which did not go frontward. He was yelling yee-hee the whole way there. Listen, first that Billie Jean, the child was not his son, right? I'm not against Mike. Without question, Mike was, the king of pop, and pop, pop goes the weasel. Just like the little clown popping out the box. He named Jack, that then became J. Jonah Johnson, like in Johnson & Johnson byproducts. Without question, on the plantation, Master John was in the big house. And his view, slave and a man, became known as John's son. They created Walker Black and Johnny Walker Red because of the tale of tears of Punta Kinte, became known as Toby, to be or not to be, a slave. And they cut his foot off. To say, well, right here today, get your foot off because you're going to need that foot to get a job, fool. You say with it you are making an honest living, but no, you're just honestly sitting there miserable and waiting to die. If indeed you ain't doing something you love. How many of you have jobs like that here today? I don't care what you say. Even beings like Michael Jackson didn't have money compared to the child that became Roth. I'll question the Rockefellers, the De Beers. How is it that a handful of Amorites can go into a country full of Nubians and take every diamond and, create it to the point that, Nelson Mandela had to come apartheid them and the whole tied them up in knots in some type of way?